Hi everybody, happy Mother's Day. Remember, I'm recording this on Sunday, but the lesson is for Monday, May 11th. I want to start off with a kitchen science activity. You'll need a plastic Ziploc bag, water, and sharpened pencils. And that's it. I call it kitchen science because you'll have most of these things around your house, hopefully. So, start off by putting water in the baggie. And I am going to puncture the bag or put the sharp pencils through the bag, through the water, and see what happens. Well, obviously, you can't make a hole in a bag of water without it leaking, right? So I have a bowl here because the water will probably just leak into the bowl. Well, let's try this experiment. Ready? What? Can you believe it? I put a pencil through a baggie, and because it's a polymer, the baggie's a polymer, it made a seal around the holes. So even though there are holes in the baggie, the water's not leaking out. Let's try it again. Ready? Do it a bunch of times. Look at that. And the water's not leaking out. Isn't that crazy? I love this experiment. Now let's see what happens when I take the pencils out. I guess the baggie could reseal because it's a polymer. Let's see. Ready? No! It doesn't reseal. There's a hole there. Try that at home. I thought you might like that experiment. All right, let's count. I want you to snap today. Snapping's really hard, but we've been working on that. So when you count to 11, I want you to snap 11 times. Cross this out. Let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you trying? 5, 6, count. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And today we started off with a science activity. We'll have an opening group. We'll do a mystery question with rhyming words and then a story. So our message today is we are going to meet a froglet. We haven't talked about froglets before. We've talked about tadpoles, we've talked about frogs, but a froglet is what a frog is right before it turns into a frog, right before the tail is absorbed. So the message is we are going to meet a froglet. And remember, if you can, writing this sentence down at home would be great. You can write your sentences while your teachers write, or you can pause the video and write after the teachers write. You're very familiar with this word. It says we, and you know this, are. After we did our graphics practice lesson with the tadpole eggs or the frog eggs on the blade of grass, I've been trying to do a better job of getting my letters to touch the lines here. So let's see if I can do it. Closed. And here's the tadpole egg on the blade of grass. Going to meet. And T, like turtle, has been at the end of a lot of our words. A frog. Now, I'm starting off the word with an F and an R and fur. And I have a new chart here. These are vowels. All of these vowel sounds have two different sounds. These vowels have two different sounds. Let's look at the ones over here for frog. Ag, ag, like an apple. I don't think that vowel goes there. How about eh as an egg? Frag for frog. Nope. How about I as an igloo? Frag. What? Nope. We're not going to meet a fraglet. We're going to meet a fra, like an octopus. Froglet. So this vowel is an ah. And then what about at the end of frog? G. Frog. Is it the same as g as in goose? Or is it the same as as in nest? We are going to meet a frog g as in goose. As in going. We are going to meet a froglet. And a froglet is the animal that's in between the tadpole and the frog. And you'll meet that later on today. Okay, we have for you some rhyming cards. I have 3 rhyming cards. I have a rocket, a rose, and a pocket. And we're trying to decide which two words rhyme. Rhyming means the words sound the same at the end, and not just the last sound. It's a chunk of sounds at the end. So let's try rocket and rose. Rocket and rose. Rocket, rose. You might notice they sound the same at the beginning, but we're looking for the ending sound. Rocket, rose. So it's O's and ocket. Do they sound the same? No, they're not rhyming words. Let's try rose, and now this is a pocket. The arrow is pointing to the picture of the pocket. Rose and pocket. Say those words. Rose, pocket. They actually don't rhyme. How about these two? This is a rocket. Say rocket. And this is a pocket. Say pocket. Ocket is at the end of both of these words. Rocket, pocket. They rhyme. Since we've been talking about frogs, I thought maybe I'd introduce you to a storybook called Frog and Toad. This is actually a chapter book. It has lots of different stories about Frog and Toad. And Frog and Toad are friends. I'm going to read the story, and I want for you to think about how Frog and Toad are different. So, Frog is an animal that lives in the water and on the land. A toad just lives on the land. So Frog is a amphibian, and Toad is a reptile. In the story, I want for you to think what you're learning about how frogs and toads are different. This is called Spring. Frog ran up the path to Toad's house. He knocked on the front door. There was no answer. Toad, Toad, shouted Frog, wake up, it's spring. Blah, said a voice from inside the house. Toad, Toad, cried Frog, the sun is shining, the snow is melting, wake up. I am not here, said the voice. So here's Frog knocking on the door, and Toad's inside, and he sounds very groggy. He said, I am not here. Frog walked into the house. It was dark. The shutters were closed. Toad, where are you? Called Frog. Go away, said the voice from a corner of the room, and Toad was lying in bed. He had pulled all the covers over his head. Have you ever done that when you didn't want to get up? Frog pushed Toad out of bed. He pushed him out of the house and onto the front porch. Toad blinked in the bright light. Help, said Toad. I cannot see anything. So he was in bed and he's not ready to get up. But Frog pushed Toad outside, and now the sun is shining in Toad's eyes. Don't be silly, said Frog. What you see is the clear, warm light of April, and it means that we can begin a whole new year together, Toad. Think of it, said Frog. We will skip through the meadows and run through the woods and swim in the river, and in the evenings we will sit right here on the front porch and count the stars. Oh, you can count them, said Frog. I'm sorry, said Toad. I will be too tired, and I am going back to bed. He even has his pajamas on. Toad went back into the house. He got into the bed, and he pulled the covers over his head again. But Toad, cried Frog, you will miss all the fun. Listen, Frog, said Toad, how long have I been asleep? You have been asleep since November, said Frog. And remember, it's April now in the story. Well then, said Toad, a little more sleep will not hurt me. Come back again and wake me up at about 1/2 May. And that's the month that we're in now, May. Good night, Frog. But Toad, said Frog, I will be lonely until May. Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep again. Frog looked at Toad's calendar. The November page was still on top of the calendar. Frog tore off November, he tore off December, he tore off January and February and March, and he came to the April page, and Frog tore off the April page too. What do you think Toad was doing all this time, for all those months? He was sleeping, and do you know toads do that? They hibernate over the winter. So Toad was sleeping while Frog was awake, and now Frog has missed his friend for all those months and wants him to get up because it's spring. Then Frog ran back to Toad's bed. Toad, Toad, wake up. It's May now. What? Said Toad. Can it be May so soon? Yes, said Frog. Look at your calendar. Toad looked at the calendar, and the May page was on top. Why is it May? Said Toad as he climbed out of bed. Then he and Frog ran outside to see how the world was looking in the spring. What did you learn about how frogs and toads are different? They have a lot of similarities, but they are different in that toads hibernate in the winter and frogs don't. On Wednesday, I'll read you the second part of this chapter book about Frog and Toad and their friendship. And for the last part of our lesson today, I want to show you our froglet. So one of the stages of metamorphosis for a frog is the egg. It starts off as an egg. When the egg hatches, out comes a tadpole. Then the frog forms legs and starts to lose or absorb its tail. It's using its tail for nutrients, for food. When the tail is completely gone, then the frog is a frog. But this little guy in my hand right here, who used to be in an egg, and then he was a tadpole, he grew his back legs and his front legs, is now losing his tail, and he is a froglet. And I won't keep him for very much longer, because when he becomes a frog, he needs to go back to the pond, which is his natural habitat. But I do want to show you what the froglet looks like. He's hopping now. So if he hops, I may have to chase after him. Can you see his tail is very small now? His back legs and front legs. And he's able to hop. He's climbing now. So when he was a tadpole, could he climb? No, he could only swim. He's starting to form lungs and get rid of his gills. There he goes. He hopped. Do you see how he's a tiny frog with a tail? Soon his tail will be absorbed. It'll all go away, and he'll be a complete frog, just like the frog in our story, Frog and Toad. This is an amphibian. He'll live on the land and the water. I'm going to put him in the water. You can see how he's hopping. Whoop. Ah! I got you, buddy. I can also put him in the water still. It won't be long before I put him back in his natural habitat. Soon I'll put him back in the pond. But I hope you enjoyed our time with this guy. He was in an egg, a tadpole, he's a froglet, and soon he will be a frog.